Yeah. So, traditionally, I am a game developer and programmer. I do make games on the Roblox platform, which some of you are probably familiar with. I've been doing that for probably about 11 years now, so I'm well into my career in that sense. But as you know, I'll have in common with a lot of you, I played World of Warriors during its time. I played it with my IRL friends. We had a little group, every week, you had like the arena and the tower, those would reset. It'd be like, oh yeah, what'd you get? What'd you get? We had the trading cards, and one thing actually that I do have is I have a stockpile of World of Warriors cards, unopened packs, which I reserve for special occasions, just because I love the game that much. But yeah, it was well over a year ago now that I started this little fan server project. It was my first venture into like game modding and that kind of thing, because deep down that is essentially what it is. It's just a modded version of World of Warriors. But yeah, the initial test of everything went really, really well. And yeah, now I'm in the process of rewriting the server again, so it's scalable for, the Discord now has nearly, I think, 500 members. So yeah, rewriting it for scalability, performance, and yeah, just that's fan server, and that's me. So yeah,
Oh, okay. Thanks. So I just got a couple of questions because I kind of divided the questions up into kind of categories that made sense together, and these sort
yeah.
of cropped out that didn't really fit. So we've got someone asking like, what sort of studies have you done? If you're okay with answering that. So
We're talking like education.
yeah, I presumably it wasn't,
Yeah.
but like yeah.
I was actually homeschooled my entire life. I didn't do any formal, schooling in regards to like programming and game development and all that stuff. That's all completely self-taught. And yeah, I haven't gone to any university or anything like that either. Just all self-taught.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. So then the other one that I've got is uh, why the name Zone and what happened to Xcaeso.
So, Xcaeso or Queso, which is my previous alias, I used on a variety of old sites, but that alias has slowly fallen through. I don't really use it anymore. And Zone is what I use on basically everything else. It was just a matter of, I think that was the old Reddit account that I had, but I can't remember exactly. But
Okay.
that's my alias.
Okay, fair enough. So these next questions are sort of like about Warriors. So like what you liked about it, what you didn't, what
Mm.
you in-game stuff. Then the next section will be on kind of changes or things that you're planning to do with it, and then the third
Mm.
one is kind of other stuff around the development and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we'll start this off with what was it that kind of drew you into the game, and what made you kind of stick with it up to this point?
Well, that is a very good question. I genuinely don't quite recall which one of me and my friend group got into World of Warriors, but yeah, one of us found it, and then we all kind of jumped into it. I liked I think what made me stick with it for so long was the turn-based combat was really, really fun. I think the fact that you could collect so many different warriors, all with different stats and elements and special moves, and there was a nigh infinite number of combinations that you could make with all these warriors, all for different purposes in the game as well. You had the missions where it might have been all water enemies. It might have been some of the enemies who had physical resistance, but were obviously took more elemental damage. And yeah, it was just all these different factors. The gameplay was basically just, you know, it could go on forever, pretty much. Obviously, the story didn't, but the online aspects, um, the online aspects were something that kept me engaged because obviously, from when I played, I don't think the story was expanded at all. So when I completed the campaign, I was basically just doing the arena and the tower, and that was enough for me. Just replaying some battles, getting XP, and all that good stuff. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what kept me going. Just the fact that the game was great.
Yeah. I don't think the game actually ever had any updates to the story part of it, because if you look at the early trailers, that this is going to be some niche knowledge I have here because I spent way too much time on this game, but uh, basically they have the last location in the game in the first trailers for the game, so it was like they did nothing ever really happened with the story. I think they did do a lot of stuff with the online things, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting. So then the next one is, how and when did you decide to create the fan server? Was it a more spontaneous thing, or had you wanted to do it for a while?
So I had been wanting to do it for quite a while, pretty much ever since the online services shut down, which is, I think it's been just over 6 years now. It was October 2018, I think, when they
Yeah,
shut
six
down.
years.
Yeah. And yeah, ever since then, I was like, yeah, I really want to, play this game again. And I know that there's, insane amount of people who also would have wanted to do the same.
Mm,
So in the back of my mind, I was always like, I'm going to bring this back one day, because obviously at that point I was still making games, still programming. So I thought, yeah, it's possible, because you had all these other kind of fan servers for other games, like Club Penguin, Toontown, all these other like OG games who
yeah.
had their online services shut down. I can't remember the exact date that I actually started it. I think it was probably somewhere around. Actually, yeah. I've just been looking through my files now. I think it was around 2022. I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
time, but it was
This
something like
is,
that.
again, I just, not because this is going to sound kind of stalky, because I know it was the 10th of October that the first post about it went up, if I remember
Oh
correctly. But it's
yeah.
just because I recently looked through all the posts just to double check that there's nothing that's being asked here that hasn't already been answered in one of those.
Hmm.
And so
No, no,
I
that's
did read
fine.
through
That's
them.
fine.
And so yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, so okay, yeah, that's interesting, because I know there were various. I mean, I looked into it at one point. I'm not. I mean, I do computer programming stuff, but I'm more on
Hmm.
the game side, like, and actually coming up with games. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
do any of that as like a job or anything like you do, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very interested in it. I like making games on the side. I do a lot of card and board games. Anyway, I'm not the one being interviewed here, so that's yeah. So next one is, what do you think sort of holds back World of Warriors as a game? What do you think are kind of its shortcomings?
That was a good question. Obviously, back in the day when I was a lot younger, I didn't really understand game design as much. I just liked the game for what it was. If that game stayed the same for, if it kept the online services for a while longer, I think I probably would have enjoyed playing it for a whole lot longer. But obviously now that I'm, making games myself, professionally, and looking into game design and all that stuff, I think there wasn't a ton of community involvement nearing the later stages of its online service.
Mm.
There was, the odd post. It's like, oh, vote for who's going to be in the Western Door next week, or some stuff like that, or the Arena Prize Warrior specifically. But beyond that, there wasn't a whole lot of community engagement, which is something that I am hoping to improve with, limited time events, and also like giveaways in the server as well. So I can give away a little warrior or some wildstones and stuff like that. There's really no
Yeah,
end
no,
to
I
the amount of
think,
stuff.
yeah, because I think they started off doing sort of stuff like that, but then as they had to kind of thin the team who were working on it due to
Yeah.
monetary issues, it kind of fell off. Because I mean, if you like, I was again doing my really weird niche thing of scrolling through the past World of Warriors Twitter account posts and using the Wayback Machine to check old forum posts, uh,
Yeah.
it basically, you can tell the difference. Like, there's a bunch of interaction in like the earlier stages, and then really towards the end, it just kind of drops off. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally just a repeated post of three. Which of these three do you want to be the arena prize? And that's all it was. Whereas in the early days, it's like, wow, look, in this drawing competition, if you draw your favorite warrior and we'll gift it to you or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, probably not going to do as well now, but back then it was pretty interesting. I mean, like I said, I did never really interact with the community. I kind of played it in isolation, which is why anyway, I keep doing this. Okay, anyway. What has or is the biggest challenge in setting up the fan server so far, apart from contacting and getting permission from Mind Candy?
Yeah, that was quite strenuous. Going back and forth with Mind Candy. If we were including that, that would definitely be number one.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
on the technicals,
I've seen a
yeah,
lot of
sorry,
people
go.
kind of I've
That's
seen a
okay.
lot of
That's
people
okay.
kind of complaining about how long it's taking, and I've always kind of brought this up of like, if you compare the time we spent waiting for like you working on it compared to the time we spent waiting on Mind Candy to kind of get back to you, sort of thing, it's like 2/3 them and 1/3 you, probably
Yeah,
roughly that much. So sorry.
yeah, no, no, it's okay. Yeah, but yeah, the technical side of things, I would say, was cracking their internal hashing function, because for security purposes, in some of like the earliest versions of Warriors, you could literally just modify your save data in on your device, and it would just work. So to get around that, they added some security measures involving hashing your data, which is basically, it's a one-time kind of encryption. Kind of, it's not encryption, but it's the simplest way to
Yeah,
describe it.
encryption
Basically,
allows you to decrypt it using a key, and
yeah,
hashing is
yeah,
singular.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
just one way. Yeah.
sorry.
To That's okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I do
It's
computer
just, yeah, to
science.
verify the
It's in my
integrity.
mind. Uh,
Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely very, very hard to figure out because they really nested it deep in there. But I did manage to crack it, and that allowed me to properly send authenticated requests from my server, and then also ensure that the save data was intact as well. And it made me realize that if Warriors was still up and running and I had the knowledge that I do today, I would have been an absolute menace if I had evil intentions. Because you could literally forge requests to the server, you could completely modify your save data. And yeah, I think Mind Candy did have some back end checks for some kind of wacky stuff like that. But it was quite a tedious process. I think that in itself took me maybe a couple months of back and forth trying to figure out. But yeah, and then second to that, it's basically just like going through the game code and finding all the little web endpoints, and then having to reverse engineer their functionality on the server, which again was relatively easy because I make games as well, so I kind of understand the brief overview of what a certain function would do.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting stuff. Sorry.
Mm.
But yeah, okay, so the next one is a bit more fun. So what is your go-to / dream team for a battle in World of Warriors, if you're just kind of a general thing where it's just not like a
Oh,
puzzle fight or anything?
right. So if we're talking my go-to, like with the warriors that I actually had, I loved collecting the minion warriors. On my phone right now, actually, on my warriors save, I have a level 52 raise, so godlike. It's got like over 1,000 raw damage, which compared to
Yeah.
some of the other gods, is actually pretty low. And then I also have a level 48 or 49 rock, which was the Earth minion that gave Earth boost. And yeah, both Rock was a tanky guy, bro. He's got like thousands of health just off the bat. So yeah, any kind of battle, I'd definitely be bringing them to, because Ray's, he's got Phantom Strike. He can just wipe out a ton of health from the
Yeah,
enemy.
Phantom Strikers.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, carry on. Yeah,
No, no,
I'm
I
still
was
thinking.
I had a thought and then it went and sorry, I didn't mean to
Nah,
interrupt you.
sorry, it's okay, it's okay. And then yeah, you pull Rock out because he would tank a ton of damage, and then for the third, oof, that is tough. I mean, one part of me does want to say I'd bring a healing warrior because, funnily enough, I also have leech. But yeah, I mean, oof, like I'm actually bringing it up on my phone right now. I'm going to have a look at my warriors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely like a healing warrior or a regeneration warrior because I also have Dark Dirk. So yeah, just like some of those guys, someone to do a ton of damage, someone that could tank a ton of damage, and someone that could heal those warriors as well. Just because, yeah, it keeps you going for ages.
Yeah. So, just out of interest for like your save file that you currently have,
Mm.
are you kind of limited in what you can pick for like the higher end battles? Because I know I have 4 warriors that I can pick from, which I intentionally staggered to make one of each element, so I can actually do any of the fights. Which basically means I always have the same team across all of them. Or if you kind of managed to level them out more so that you have quite a few that actually work together. Considering.
It depends really because at the because I've completed the campaign as well. On the final battle, I think the latest battle that you've done, you've got like that battle, but then you've also got the smaller little pop-up missions,
Yeah.
and the pop-up missions more so scale, or I think it's the one where you go against actual warriors. Those scale with your highest rated warrior. So if I go on
Yeah.
this now,
Because that'll be what level 52 for you. Because I mean,
yeah,
I still have the game, so I'm quite lucky in regards to that. And so uh, that's one of the things I'm like, because I record videos of it because no one else can currently. Well, very few other people can play at the moment, so I record videos for that.
mm,
And so I've been stuck on this ice world. I'm like, it looks nice, but I'm sure people are bored of it by now. Like just
yeah,
watching me play in the same locations. This was actually a thing I think I put in the suggestions at some point, which was if you have those little pop up battles for all of the end locations of map sections. I don't know. It was, but yeah,
yeah, no. But yeah, generally I do have to use my highest rated warriors because, as an example, the hard pop-up battle that I've got at the moment has a level 52 Fester and a level 52 Leech. Fester has just under 700 attack, 250 elemental, and nearly 12,000 health. And Leech has nearly 1,000 attack, 300 elemental, and nearly 9,000 health. So they are very difficult battles, and yeah, those are the only two godlike warriors I have. The remaining ones are either level 44 or 34 because I lack
yeah.
the materials to upgrade any of them further,
I,
unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, there is a tiny chance that you get a portal or tower material when you beat the hard pop up fights.
Mm.
So you can theoretically, if you had an infinite amount of time, you could technically upgrade any of your warriors by doing those enough to get the thing.
Yeah, no, I
But
don't have the time for
no,
that.
I don't have the time for that. But I'm just saying it's quite an interesting one. I just mean if you're like a couple things short, you might find some. But anyway, yeah. So then, simple one next. Do you have a favorite element from the game or?
Ooh, that really is a tough one, and I'll tell you why. It's because when I was younger, with my same friend group, it was me, my brother, and then my best mate, and then his younger brother as well. We're all still good friends to this day, for I think nearly like 12 or 13 years now. But yeah, one time when we were younger, we were doing like arts and crafts things together, and we made the shields of the different elemental minions with the I think it was the AOE attack. Oh, actually no, it was actually the boost one. So you had like what was it, Rock, Typh, and
Ooze
then
and Febrile.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think I had Typh, so I was air, and I can't remember what the other ones had. But yeah, I've always been torn between either earth or air. Air because of that great memory of making those little shields in real life, and Earth because the majority of my high level warriors are Earth. Like I have Rock, I have Mud, I have Leonidas, and then I've also got for Water is my second highest. I've got the Gatekeeper and Gajamada, and then that's basically it.
That's a really nice selection. So, I, how many of those did you sort of get like with those like massive amount of gems they gave at the end?
I honestly don't remember.
Because I know I had no legendaries, and so all the ones I now use are all from that end event. So yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even sure if I partook in that event because I don't have many gems left. I've got a ton of honor stones because those drop from chests and whatnot.
yeah,
But wild stones and warrior stones, I've got 10 and 26 of respectively. So I'm honestly not sure. I know a lot of them I got from arena events because I have a ton of pictures on my phone of me coming first, like literally, because you had like the 15, I think it was 15 tiers in the arena, and then at the
yeah.
top tier, you had like the top 1,000 players would get the arena prize, and I remember I would grind those out so hard. I have multiple pictures of me being number one in tier one, and there was one point I think nearing the later stages of its life when the arena had just happened, or just came out rather for that week, and I was the only person in tier one.
It
I
might be
was just
good to
alone on the leaderboard.
it might be good to see some of those pictures at some point. I think that would be
Yeah, yeah,
quite
I'll
cool.
definitely dig through my phone and see if I can find
Yeah,
some.
I mean, I never like there was one time I really tried in the arena, and I think I got to like just under rank 10. I really never did either of the online things. And I remember when they did give out the gems, I didn't quite realize like how final the shutdown would be, kind of thing. I just thought, oh, it will. And so I just remember
Yeah,
logging in every day to like open some doors before it shut down. And then when it shut down, I was surprised when I couldn't do anything anymore.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Now we've got a fun little last question before we get into section two, which is: do you like crocodiles?
Ooh, um, I mean they're pretty cool, but I mean I don't really think of them that often. They're kind of there, kind of in the back of my mind, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. The other thing was, I don't know if you've noticed this is not on my script, but it's just something I was interested. Was if have you noticed randomly getting a large amount of a certain type of item in Warriors? Because I've had this twice now, where my offline game with no prompt whatsoever, I randomly got like 200 boost potions, and like
Wow.
a month prior, I randomly got like 350 honor stones. Like it's, I don't know if you'd like
No,
knew any
no,
like
I've never encountered that myself. The rarest things that I've obtained so far in like solo chests is like a wild stone, and that
yeah.
was my idea for like getting some of my warriors upgraded was to just keep playing these hard battles and hope I got enough wild stones eventually to buy the upgrade packs. But I tested it when I was working on the fan server. I tested it before I implemented the purchasing of packs, and you can't even do it offline.
Yeah, that
So
was a
yeah,
disappointing one because I remember I got a bunch of wild stones for completing one of the story battles. I was like, oh, I can finally buy an upgrade pack to get one of my, and then it was like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, of course.
yeah,
The one that shocked me though was boost potion, not boost potions, XP potions. Because I was like, oh, I just craft a
mm,
bunch of XP potions and level them all up, and then it just goes, you have to be online to do this. I'm like,
yeah. I'm
for
not
what
entirely sure why.
purpose?
I'm not sure why because internally with the events, like the network events, it doesn't really do anything like super significant. Like it doesn't rely on a specific response from the server. It's basically just asking the server if it's okay to use this potion. My guess is it might have been for anti-cheat purposes. So um, let's say the amount of XP you get, um, every time you sync your data to the cloud, I suppose it might check the XP gain from when you were last online and to now. And if that XP gain was too big, then it might like flag something. But that's just my best guess. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. And sorry, it's just come to mind and I thought I'd ask it. I don't know if you know whether, because I know when I switched like devices when the servers were still up, and I transferred like the data from my older iPad to the newer one, and it
Hmm.
said, "Oh, do you? It looks like there's already a save on this account. Do you want to use it?" Is that a server thing or is that a device thing? Or if you know.
So there's a couple of interesting things about the save data, which I think I've actually got some of the code base up now. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I think that is from the server because obviously you could log in with your device and you could also log in with Facebook. I think Facebook was one of the go-to methods because it allowed you to share that data across different devices. Like I know what I would do back in the day was I would play on my phone, but I'd also play on my computer using BlueStacks, which is the exact same way that the fan server is meant to be played or emulated, should I say. So I'd share my data between the two. So my guess is it might have been tied to Facebook, because otherwise there really isn't any way to get like a
Yeah.
consistent user ID.
Okay. Because I hadn't. Uh, I never connected a Facebook account.
Oh,
So it like I said, it was literally like you do your Apple like back up to the cloud and then you take it back down. For some reason, it still had my save.
oh, yeah,
I
it might have
don't
been that.
I don't. Yeah, this is what I mean. And so, if I knew, it would stop me worrying so much about accidentally deleting warriors at some point. Because
Mm.
I regularly worry about that, which shows how sad my life is.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure because obviously I've got an iPhone as well, but the Warriors app that I have is for Android because the Apple ones are obviously very much heavily signed and encrypted, and that is like way beyond my
Yeah,
modding expertise. So on Android, I don't think they had anything close to that kind of like Apple Cloud thing.
yeah,
So I think that might have been a possibility. Because also one thing to keep in mind, I have managed to take the exact same save file across multiple, iOS updates, phone upgrades, and it's all stayed intact.
that's yeah. I mean
So
that was quite impressive to me was the fact that like because I remember for a while, I don't know if you noticed this, but for a while, Warriors, when I clicked on it, basically said, "Oh, this app isn't compatible with the latest version," and then they
yeah,
did an
yeah,
automatic update on it to make it work with Apple Watch, and it made it work again. And I was like,
yeah,
completely
because
blew my mind that they just because I
yeah,
saw an update for Warriors, and I like freaked out because I was like, "What? Are they bring it back or something?" But no, it's just an automatic Apple one, which was quite funny. But yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, so now actually getting on to section two because we are running out of time.
yep.
So how is the meat system and earning premium currency going to work?
I've got a lot of different ideas for that. One thing with the meat system was I was thinking of just reducing the cooldown because it was like what 5 minutes per one meat. I might reduce that cooldown. For premium currency, I can modify the loot tables for various chests and whatnot. So I'm thinking of increasing the amounts of premium currency you can get from those chests, but also because of the arena and the tower, I can choose the rewards for those as well. Particularly the tower, because as I mentioned a while ago, I'm not sure if it's still listed somewhere, but I haven't got to implementing the arena yet because it uses a slightly different web framework, which is a bit more complicated to read with the way that the game is decompiled. So the arena will still happen eventually, but I think on release and for a little while after release, it will primarily be the tower, which will be the main, like, online source of things. So I'm thinking tower prizes will just be a lot more generous.
Yeah,
And
so
then, yeah.
more in line with like what they were prior to the arena sort of thing, or even better than that.
I honestly don't remember how the prizes were for the tower pre-arena. I'm not even
They
sure if
were
I played pre-arena.
I didn't, but from what I've seen, they were basically like top one arena prizes sort of thing. So like, well, top 1,000 of rank one arena prizes, roughly the same. So like 10 wild stones, a legendary, and a good talisman.
Yeah.
So something like okay. So are there any plans on balancing or changing certain warriors or?
Yes, definitely. Obviously, this is something that will heavily require community input and tweaking here and there because yeah, some stuff like game balance can be very difficult to get right. But I do definitely agree that there are some warriors that are just outright bad. The fact that they just really don't serve any sort of purpose. There's just like because with some warriors that have varying stats. Some are better for certain situations, depending on the enemies. But for some warriors, that's just simply not the case, and they're just really outright bad.
Any
So I
names that
think
come to
balancing them.
mind?
Oh, what was it? There was one warrior that I've read about in chat. It's just people kept going on about. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I was because like there's this kind of three. There's Malik, who
Yeah,
we yeah. Please don't change him. We like him being bad. Then
yeah, yeah.
there's
I'll keep him.
Hua, who is
Yeah, yeah. Well, as well. Yeah.
and then back from like forum days, they kept talking about Shaka being bad.
Mm.
So anyway, but yeah. So the next one is: should we expect any surprises when we get back to the Wildlands?
Hmm. That is a very broad question. I like that. Um, I think because ultimately, what I want to do one day is if I can properly figure it out, I do want to try and expand the campaign. When it comes to, I'll just do a very brief technical explanation. The game's code is stored in one file. Game's code very easy to modify, very easy to add things and remove things from, and that's basically the core of where most things are done. The game's data, when it comes to, let's say, warrior appearances, internal map data, loot tables, and warrior stats, all sorts of data like that, are stored in a different file format, which has been a lot harder to modify. I did manage to crack it. I did manage to modify things, but adding and removing things is another story. If I can add brand new things to the file, then that would mean I could completely add new warriors, I could add new map locations, I could add new special moves, I could literally change anything about the game, add anything new to the game that I'd like. That is, at the end of the day, the goal. I would like to be able to not just bring warriors back, make it all functional again, but I do want to try and expand it as well. But yeah, that is definitely a story for another day for when and if I can even, figure out how to go about that. Beyond that, um, I, I mean, I don't know. There's all sorts, I've messed around with all sorts of little things here and there. I replaced one of those four really obscure neutral minions that you couldn't really get. I replaced one of those with Obsidiacs. I made the old
Which
rumor
which
true.
which obscure minion uh, was it?
I
Just out of
think it was
interest.
I think there was that one called Merdina. I think they had like
Okay,
double
good, good.
strike.
Yeah, double
Yeah.
strikers, the worst special move in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no, I replaced them with Obsidiacs because some of the OG fans will remember the rumors going about where if you went to Mind Candy HQ, they'd give you like Obsidiacs as a character. Obviously,
I I have not
to
heard of that, but
you haven't? No, that
no.
that was like one of the big things back in the day where you go around like, yeah, if you go to Mind Candy HQ, you ask for him, they'll give him you. Unfortunately, he's not a playable character by default, so if anyone still had that theory in their head, unfortunately, it's not true. But I was able to make it true. I couldn't quite do a special move because there's two variations for each move. There's one variation for when you perform it, and there's one variation for when the enemy performs it, which requires different animations and all that stuff. So unfortunately, couldn't do elemental shift, but I gave him something else. I can't remember what it was. But
You gave him
yeah.
combo rush, I think, in the pictures.
Oh yeah, no, I think it might have been yeah.
Which, to be fair, makes sense because it is one of the best special moves in the game.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, some surprises like that. Some of them might sneak in. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
So I just want to double check with time because I'd say we're about halfway through the questions, and so I don't know. Should I
I'm
skip
good to
on
go
or
for a
do
little
you?
longer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
I'm
know
good to go.
there's like roughly 20 minutes left. So like if we did an hour, we'd be two-thirds through the time, but only we're halfway through the question. So if you think you
Yeah,
can
no, I'm good.
have
Yeah.
time for it, okay. And then the other one was, is it intention? This is just a thing that's just come up when speaking of what you've just mentioned. Is it intentional that when a minion performs combo rush on you, you don't get any mana or hearts?
Um,
This is like
I
a really
don't
niche question.
know.
I don't know if you've looked into it. I'm sorry.
I don't know. There's a lot of this niche behavior in the game. Like it's basically like every time you open up the code base, you'll find something new, which I actually did prior to this interview because I have been working on making a better development environment, so to speak. So it's easier for me to add new things and keep track of changes and stuff like that. And one thing that I found out is the arena, or just the coin flip animation, which I'm pretty sure is exclusive to the arena, but I'm not sure it might have been somewhere else. I
I
can't
think
quite
so.
recall.
I don't recall it being anywhere else.
But it turns out it wasn't an even 50-50 chance. You actually only had a 1 in 3 chance of getting it to be your turn. 2 out of 3 times it would be the opponent,
I mean, to be
which
fair, that
is
is what makes the arena distinct from a lot of the other fights, or at least a key part. I think is the fact that you can go second.
yeah. It's just that yeah, you go second a lot more
Is
because
there
I always
anything
thought it was
else
an
kind
even
of?
split.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you don't really notice that. But yeah, any other interesting things that you found like buried in the kind
I mean,
so to
not
say?
really. There's a lot of different things that I've mentioned in the Discord prior, but
Yeah.
yeah, beyond that, no. The coin flip's the only thing that I've noticed recently.
Okay. So I know this was touched on earlier, but just in specifically that I got two questions on kind of what your plans are with Bone Shaker, the final boss of the game. If there's anything thought about there, or if that's still kind of locked behind that wall of once you get past like being able to add new stuff, that's when you kind of start thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some very, very, I mean, very rough ideas for kind of like how I'd want the story to progress. I haven't completely settled on Bone Shaker yet, lore-wise, but yeah, it pretty much just comes down to if I'm able to expand the story to begin with, because it's definitely possible. It's just how hard it is to achieve that. Because, like I said, modifying the second type of data storage, that is fairly easy. But yeah, when it comes to adding new stuff, that's when it gets a little bit difficult. So yeah, in regards to that, just kind of wait and see if I can figure out how to do it first, and then if I can, then I'll spend some more time kind of laying out all the plans for that stuff.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So will the prices of the doors and other sort of stuff that you can buy with the currency remain the same, or are there plans to change those?
Um, The good thing about that is those can actually be changed on the fly. Whenever you open the temple area, the prices are retrieved from the server. So I can change them basically whenever. I do want to reduce them, like just off the bat, but I'd also like to do the odd little event here and there where the prices might change as well. That could be down or that could be up. Like, let's say, for example, you might have a weekend where the price is reduced a little more. So if I were to say change the base price to maybe like 7 wildstones from 10, it might go down to 5, for a little weekend. Or alternatively, I might have an event where you can only pull legendary warriors, but increase the price by a little bit because otherwise everyone just get every legendary warrior there is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to reduce the base cost, but then also have like little weekend events where the price and the stuff you can get out of the door changes.
Yeah, okay, that's sounds cool. Yeah, because I remember they like towards the end they introduced the VIP system. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I remember I managed to get that down to the point where it always cost me 8 wildstones to open the door,
Mm,
which I thought was quite nice because once you're so used to 10, 8 is such a massive reduction in price, and it
exactly. Yeah.
allows you, especially when you like doing 2 and whatnot. But yeah, so that's quite interesting. The other stuff seems to have been. Oh yeah, this was something that someone mentioned in the Discord. Um, is there like different languages? Because someone asking about a French version in the Discord. And I wasn't sure if those were like separate games that were released, like separate like versions of the game, or whether they're all in one and you can change that in a language setting. Um,
Yeah. Sorry, your microphone just had a bit of feedback.
oh, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
there we
not
go.
the
Yeah,
best
it's
one.
good now. That's fine. Yeah, when it comes to translated versions of games, that's generally referred to as localization, and those strings or the strings of text tend to all be bundled in with the same game. I have briefly seen some translated text that's in the secondary data file that I mentioned before. So I have seen those strings. They do exist. I can't quite recall how they're set. I presume it's your device's locale which determines that. So the language you set
Okay.
on your device should
Yeah,
automatically change it in game.
that's good then. Because I mean, I did when they mentioned it, I was like looking, seeing if there was maybe a language option somewhere in there, but there's very little in the settings menu.
Mm,
So, but yeah, okay, so that's good to know. Probably have to put that into Google Translate because they said they weren't that good at
yeah.
English. But thanks for answering that. And then now we're on section 3. So this will be more general servery stuff. So one of the things that's come up recently a lot in the server as well uh, is can anyone? This is not me saying this. I'm not good at enough of that stuff. But can anyone somehow be of help? And if so, how would they reach out? And what sort of skills would be looked for?
Mm. I've had a few people reach out to me about this actually. Some people reaching out to offer like server hosting and all sorts of other things. And I do really appreciate these offers. It is really nice to see the community come together in that kind of way. But I am basically flat out refusing any assistance from anyone else, primarily because that would mean the some of the internal things. This primarily leads back to the hashing method. If any of that information were to get out, it would immediately invalidate basically everything. Like anyone could, in theory, modify their data. Anyone could forge requests to the server, and then changing that hash would require a complete update of the game. And yeah, just overall, it would be a very, very bad time if any sort of like internal information like that were to, fall into the wrong hands. So I'm basically just kind of playing it safe by being the only guy working on it, but also because I'm not sure how that would work legally speaking with Mind Candy. Because the way that I propose the project to them is basically me saying, "Hey, I'm just a guy. I love your game. I modded it a little bit, so the online functionality's back. It's all funded by me. There's no microtransactions, there's no pay to win, there's nothing like that. Can I upload the files, pretty please?" And obviously, after about a year, they said yes. So yeah, I wouldn't want to try and muddy the water, so to speak, to say, "Oh yeah, suddenly I've got a big team of people working on this, and anyone
Yeah.
could go off and make their own version of it." And yeah,
Okay, so that kind of sort of answers these two other questions that I've got, which is, I'm guess because in your original video you mentioned the possibility of perhaps allowing people to host their own servers. So I'm guessing that's off the table.
yes, that was an original idea I had where the server source would be open sourced, and anyone could, in theory, modify the game and host it themselves. But in the end, it would still suffer from those issues. Everyone would have to have, if you wanted to play like on one server and then join another, you'd have to have a completely different internal. You'd have to have a completely different program, basically, completely different version of the game, and that wouldn't really work well with how the game is intended to run. And then, of course, also you've got the legal implications as well.
Yeah. So just a bit more. I don't know how much you can go into kind of like the legal bits of like what you're allowed to do and what you can't kind of
Mm.
thing, because this is something I've been wondering about, what sort of stuff you've been allowed to do and what sort of stuff, like where's kind of the red line of they're probably not gonna.
Yeah, no, you can ask like any sort of questions in regards to that.
Yeah, I don't have any specifics. I'm sure I'll come up with a bunch after this, but
Yeah, what I will say is probably the biggest one that I think people ask is in regards to money. They've been very explicit with that, saying that no part of the game is to be paid. So you can't pay to play the game, you can't pay to get currency and all that stuff. The one exception they've said that is donations are completely fine if they offer absolutely no advantage in the game whatsoever. Then donations are fine.
so
So that would
when you
just
say no
be
advantage, you mean like they don't give you any currency, but like a name in the credits would still happen? Because I remember you
I
mentioning
think,
that at some
yeah, I
point
think
where
I
you
did
said that.
mention that actually. Yeah, I would need to double check that in the emails, but I do believe that is okay. Just having like a list of donators. So yeah, basically donations to like fund the server hosting and also for the time invested in working on the server, and also to pay any outside contributors if I were to, let's say, expand the campaign. So that would be modeling new environments, making new warriors, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's
Wait,
kind
so
of the line in regards to money.
wait, so if you were making like new warriors or whatever, would you be allowed to like pay someone to make your warrior model, or is that kind of,
Yeah, because that
because
would
I'm just
be
thinking that's like very copyright infringementy in my mind. It just like,
yeah,
because
no, that's
copyright scares me a lot. So
yeah, no, copyright is very broad, but no, in this case, copyright infringement. As an example, I would be committing copyright infringement if I released the modified version of the game like without Mind Candy's permission, because that's releasing their copyright material
yeah, I
without
know. I'm just
permission.
kind of like, if you expand the game using terms like, and the story beat, building on the story beats they've written,
Hmm.
is kind of murky territory. So I'm just wondering if you have like, as part of your agreement, I mean, I think you've already mentioned that you are allowed to expand the story and stuff, but I just wanted to double check.
Yes,
That's all.
I think again I'll have to double check my emails for that, but I'm going to say 99% sure that yes, it's fine because by commissioning people to make content for that, we would own the copyright to, let's say, if we made a new warrior, and let's say the texture of the warrior, if we made them a new sword, a new shield, a new helmet, we would own the copyright to all that because
Yeah,
it's stuff that we've made.
I just mean
The
like if you put
underlying
Bone
warrior
Shaker in the
model.
game or something.
Well, I mean, I don't think he has an official design, so like, I think it's fair game.
Well, yeah, I'm just yeah. Okay, so that is
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so yeah, the other question you've already answered. Just so this is just a double check, which someone sent this to me, but it's also one I'm interested in. We're fine to like stream the game, make videos for it, that sort of thing. Shouldn't be any
yeah,
issues with that, right?
yeah. In regards to making videos and all that kind of stuff, you're of course all able to do that. The only thing that I think would be worth mentioning is if you were to, let's say, in a video description or something, you were to want to, say, link the files to somebody, you would probably have to link back to the original source by me, which will probably be in the Discord, because
Yeah,
otherwise,
that's fine. That's all I
if
was
you, yeah,
planning on doing.
yeah, if you were to re-upload the files yourself, then that could be seen as copyright
Yeah,
infringement because you don't explicitly have permission for it. But
and
yeah,
they also
that's the
don't
only
know
thing worth
whether it's
mentioning.
the same code that you uploaded, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that it's
exactly.
yeah, it's just a whole kind of one. But yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Then okay, so that's pretty much everything I think, other than that two people sent in saying they don't really have questions, but just wanted to say that you're doing a great job, and that they're very excited and very grateful for all the work you're putting in. So,
thank you. Yeah, I do appreciate that a lot. One thing I will say in regards to that is I do greatly apologise for the time it's taken to, make progress with this. If I was just, a hobbyist, I was just working on this for fun, I didn't have any other responsibilities, then I would definitely have had it done quite a while prior to now. But yeah, life circumstances for me personally, I've moved to a new country. I've had to deal with all that paperwork, especially involving tax.
yeah.
I've been setting up my own company. I've gotten engaged.
Oh,
I have, yeah, it's just, it's a lot of life stuff. And then on top of that, I've also got a full-time job. So,
yeah.
yeah,
No, I think everyone kind of gets that, or I think almost everyone gets that.
yeah, yeah.
In
I'm
the
seeing a few little face palm emojis and the announcement reactions. Like,
yeah.
I know who you are, bro. I know who's sending them. But
I
yeah,
mean, recently we had someone accuse you of being a fake and not actually intending, and this is all just a massive elaborate troll. But I mean, I was worried until I got on this call today. Like, this was basically my thing of like, if you do this call, I can't believe that you'd go that far for like, haha, I got you all.
yeah. No,
Sorry,
that'll
that's
be
but
that'll be
like
cruel. I would
absolutely
never do that.
devastating. But I
Yeah,
also think, what would you have to gain considering that this is like, you're literally doing this call on like your main account. Like, this is
yeah.
attached to like everything you're doing. So, but yeah. So, and the other thing was, you said you would do like update videos, and this is gonna, because I know you've said that you've been really busy, and this is like a really bad point to put this, but it's something that's come up a lot recently because I remember it. The past week, a lot of stuff's come up, and I've been like, I really wish I could like ask you about this, but like I know the interview's coming up, so I kind of kept it all for now. So this is, but people have
Mm.
basically been saying would like some video or example of what sort of happened, or at least some like showing off the fan server. Basically, I think has been
Yeah.
the general
Um,
thing. I know you've been busy, and I mean,
yeah, no, that's completely understandable. Yeah, because it's it's very much just like what's been happening. It's been nearly a year. What's been going on? And no, that is completely understandable. And I will say that I do still think the timeline for getting it out before the year, I think that is still reasonable. if I come up with any further hiccups or anything like that that could delay it, I will be, straight into announcements and will let people know because obviously that would be still very disappointing, but obviously it's better to know the circumstances. But
Yeah.
yeah, as soon because again, I'll lay out my kind of roadmap. I am currently rewriting the backend server code in a different language, and I'm moving it to a new host so that it is scalable for hundreds of players because the previous version wasn't, and then also improving the performance. So there's like less kind of because in some cases in the previous version, some things could hang for a little while, but with this version, it should have no such issue, which will be very very good. Once I've rewritten the backend server, I need to basically start from scratch with the modified game code because the thing is, with the when I was making the game initially, or making the modded version, I didn't keep track of my changes. So there's
Yeah.
various changes in the code where I've let's say disabled some security measures so that I could test things easier.
Yeah, and then
I
you
don't
don't
want to
know.
leave I don't want to leave any kind of like things open like that, which could backfire. So I am re-modifying the base game basically, so that everything is the same.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, it's not an easy task, but thankfully, because I already know where everything is, that shouldn't take too long. And then beyond that, once the backend server's been rewritten and hosted and the actual core game's been modified again, it should all just be ready.
Yeah, that's
And
good. I
yeah,
know you. I know you've been repeatedly saying that this is quick, and really don't want to push this matter too much because I know you've
that's
been
okay,
busy.
that's
But
okay.
when you say like short or should be relatively quick, do you mean like a month's worth of work, or do you mean like a couple of afternoons? Like I know it's
So
really
yeah,
not like
yeah,
it,
no,
but
yeah, I understand that's
it's
vague.
just
Yeah, I understand when I say, oh yeah, it shouldn't be much work. Most people might make the immediate assumption of, oh, it's only going to take him a few days, assuming that I'm going to get started like after that announcement. When what I mean by that is, it will take me very little time. Like, I would estimate that 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks would be all the time I'd need to get it ready. Maybe, even less, depending on how much time I have. But I haven't started on that yet. Or that's a lie. I technically have started, but I haven't got that time like immediately right now. It's like, yeah, I can get started tomorrow, that kind of thing.
yeah, no, no,
It
of
means
course.
eventually I'll have that time, and when that time comes, it will not take very long to complete.
Okay, that's good. And then probably the final thing, unless I think of something, if that's okay, is that we've recently on the Discord, there's been a user who's been rather annoying, and I mean, no
Oh
one's
yeah.
wanted to ping you because we know you're busy, but it's basically been going on a month now. I think the because it's an alt account of someone who was previously banned, I think,
Mm.
and no one's wanted to mention it. But so I'm
No,
not going to
yeah,
explicitly name them, but I was just
yeah.
this is a lead into an actual question, which is especially once the fan server launches, you'll likely need more moderation on the Discord, considering you won't have time to deal with everything that goes off there as well as everything that goes off in the rest of your life
Yeah.
and your job and stuff. So will you be implementing like moderators on the Discord or anything like that?
Yes, 100%. I do want to look into getting some of the trusted members of the community and giving them some more power with the Discord. Because yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the last time I've actually checked in with the channels. Because yeah, I literally just have been that busy. I think the latest things that I've done
I think
is
it was the
make the
last
various
announcement was
announcements.
the
Yeah. But if there's any sort of moderation issues in the server, do ping me about it. Like reply to the thing, ping me, give me some context, and I'll look into it as soon as I'm able. Because usually that'll be within like a few minutes unless I'm out and about.
Yeah,
In which case, it's a matter of like, oh yeah, I'll look at my phone. Oh yeah, they're breaking the rules and ban them, easy peasy. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't mind that at all. And even pinging me with questions and stuff like that because I do see that there's messages in the questions channel. But yeah, no, pings
Okay,
are
that's
absolutely
good.
fine.
Because I think everyone's just generally like, we really don't want to bother you too much,
Yeah, no,
so
that, that's
no
that's
no
completely
one's
fine.
like,
Yeah,
I often like putting questions in the questions channel without like just kind of putting them there, and then you don't get a response, and so you're like, okay, but it is yeah, no, so that's good to know that there's because I know another thing that just was like, because we now have 3 people boosting the Discord server, which like does absolutely nothing now because
mm,
like no, like I said, I don't expect you to go around and add a bunch of new emojis because we have new emoji slots, but I just mean it's quite funny because like people are wasting their boosts on the server that no one's really going to do something.
oh yeah, no,
Anyway,
I am. I'm more than happy to like throw in some new emojis.
yeah, I don't know if you saw them, but I put a bunch of like Toki faces in the suggestions channel
Yeah,
because
no, I
like
can
from
look
some
into that.
concept art, and I was like, those would be some really nice emojis, I thought, because they're just funny. And so I've been replying using the actual files recently to use them. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no,
okay.
genuinely, yeah, yeah. If you've got any like emoji suggestions, or if you've got any general questions, or if there's some rule breaks that need to be dealt with, yeah, just ping me because yeah, I'm completely happy with that. If it's just some random ping, say like "Hi" or "What you doing," like then yeah, I'm probably not going to respond. And if you keep doing it, I'll probably mute you or something like that. But if it's a genuine ping for like something genuine, that's completely fine. Because again, I deal with that in other like Discord servers with hundreds of thousands of members that ping me like tens of times a day. Like, I'm completely fine with it. It's just yeah, if it's actually a meaningful ping. If it isn't meaningful, then don't do it. But if it does have some meaning behind it, then that's completely fine.
Okay. Yeah, so I realised that we discussed this prior to me starting the recording, but no one on the recording has actually heard it yet. So I'm just going to ask you to repeat what you said about the release date. Just, it's not too useful to anyone, but just
Yeah.
so it's said again here, because I know a lot of people were asking about it. It was probably the most frequent question on the forum. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I am still aiming for the end of the year, and I do say that I did say like before Christmas, but completely honest, there's like a week in it. I basically mean the same thing. The original release date of around Christmas, end of the year, that kind of range, is definitely still possible. Again, ideally, I'd like to get it done before Christmas, so then I
Yeah,
can
because
do a
I mean,
little
I know there are a lot
Christmas
of
event.
people who, like, myself included, interpreted that as kind of like a lead up to Christmas event was planned, kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. No, I
So
understand that.
like
Yeah.
I guess I think the general consensus now is 20th of November. People just believe that's the release date now. I don't know how that happened, because it's. I mean, my personal one was like, it's far enough away from the anniversary to the point where it doesn't seem like it would do that, and it's also far enough away from day 400 of waiting for the fan server. Like, this is how my brain works. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
So I
fine.
was like, but yeah, so likely not 20th
Yeah.
of November then. Is I
I'm not going to say anything yet because, again, basically, it's just a matter of how quickly I can get my main upcoming work done, and then when I've got my main priorities sorted, that's when I've got free time to focus on the fan server. So if I were to get my stuff in order, within like a week or two, then the 20th might be feasible, but I don't want to
Yeah,
promise anything like that.
no, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand that. I mean, yeah, because
yeah.
I
But
always
yeah, the
kind of
goal
look.
is, yeah, I'll just say this real quick. Yeah, the goal is I want to try and get it done so that there's like a Christmas time event, like with a little lead up to Christmas. That's the best case. Worst case, it might be a little bit later into December. But yeah, again, that is if I can get everything sorted and there's nothing else comes up. If something does come up that will delay this, then I will ensure that that is announced, and I will make a good effort to, in the Discord, like keep tabs on my development progress, so that people have something to follow at least.
Okay, yeah, that's
But
good
yeah,
because I know because there's the dev updates channel which has like one message in, and I mean
yeah, yeah,
I like I said it's we get it. I think kind of thing is like really not to push you, but I think everyone's like now you've put a cap on it. I think everyone's kind of just gone crazy like it could be tomorrow kind of thing. Even though that's probably not within the range of the time you have, but you know, everyone seems to be a lot more like, is it out yet? Is it out yet? Than they were prior to the announcement that it'll be out before Christmas, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. No, that is completely understandable. Just because it's getting closer to that time. Yeah,
Anyway, so I've kept you long enough, so
yeah. No, it's been great. And yeah, we could do another one of these like after the server's been out for a little bit, and just kind of yeah go from there. That would be, I think, really really
I'd
cool.
love to. This has been really good, and I mean, like I said, I was very stressed earlier. I'm not quite
Yeah, it's
stressed
okay.
now,
It's
so
okay.
yeah. So I'll just wrap this up here. So thanks
Yeah.
for watching, everyone. Hat Warrior signing off.